Welcome to another episode of the Blank Canvas. If you're new here, this is a project by Plinko Solutions focused on bridging accessibility around AI and business infrastructure. So today's really exciting because we're actually going to be playing around with the new GPT-5. So for those who are the uninitiated, the uninundated, if you haven't seen it yet, you will see it over the coming days. But GPT just fully shipped, I guess is the right word, a flagship version that basically condenses all of the existing language models they have on the market into one big, super powerful, well-functioning agent. So what does this actually mean? Without kind of taking you through the bar for bar, I'll show you. So in real time, one of the main differences is the infrastructure. So as you can see here, there's a bit of a unified thinker act system. So before, let's pull up the good old whiteboard. Language models, they still they do benefit from a bit of a reinforcement. So you have this kind of, question going out, and before it gives you a distilled answer, a good language model will actually take the time and say, hey, halfway through, it'll actually go, that's actually a crazy thick line. Anyways, it'll actually go through, circle back around and be like, wait a second, I need to think about, break this down into further components. And with any intelligence system, as you distill it further and further and further, you kind of do this a few times, you're supposed to get clearer and clearer answers. That's supposed to be an arrow at the end there. Let's assume it is. So what that means now is instead of us choosing between the different models and kind of seeing in our own selection, like, do we want O3 to go deeper? Do we want a quick little 4.0 to give us a quick response? Now it will auto-detect that based on the complexity of the question. And it does it through something called verbosity, however you want to pronounce it, short versus long. And also it within the context window, it's able to kind of tailor that down and kind of get it narrow. That's all nice and dandy. That sounds like any other new language model. What makes this one a little bit different? So I started to kind of hit the whiteboard, as you can see, seeing what the move is. And this note about orchestration logic kept coming up, specifically with the tools. And I was like, what does that mean? What does that entail? So in the same way, where it auto-detects what kind of model you want to use, there's a real-time router that actually pulls the different tools that are available. So before, if you're familiar with automation, we would have to essentially, like, say, for example, let's go back here a little bit. As it's figuring out this question, it's like, wait a second, I need to check calendar availability. So it'll go and it'll hit something called an API. So if you're familiar with it, that's supposed to be a nice little arrow. API is a nice little, call it a doc of information, good amount of a log, if you will, a publicly kind of kept track record, a server, for more generic kind of explanations of it. So essentially what it does is it pings the Google Calendar servers and says, hey, is this available? Is it busy? That's a very layman way of doing it. There's actual like JSON schema and actual like notation that it has to verify and check, which as an automation specialist, that's our job of verifying. But for the non-technical, essentially now with the GPT-5, instead of us having to go in and determine all that, our job is significantly easier now because GPT-5 is supposed to preamble and progress and kind of figure that out in multi-steps so you can finish more with less. So it's kind of a big deal in that sense. Instead of having to prompt engineer and create prompt chains, which I'll dive into in a bit, it's able to actually provide that at scale, which is pretty sweet. So what's a lifetime kind of like real implementation of this? I'll show you guys. So when it comes to thinking models and intelligent systems, my kind of litmus for like, okay, how grandiose is this? Is really the deep thinking model. Because for me, DeepSeek R1, Grok, deep thinking, even Qwen is pretty substantial. So GPT, of course, is my go-to as I have all my projects and my all the 2+ years of building kind of on this. What I'm going to do now is I have as you can tell here, very much verbose, well laid out, lean canvas. Now, instead of kind of taking you in and walking you through what all of this is about, essentially a lean canvas is supposed to be a one shot for from the big camera, for understanding how a business operates, makes its money, drives its revenue, basically works. What makes the business a business, right? So I went ahead and exported this jumbled mess because I made it back when I was on pain meds. I broke my leg about 8 months ago. So here, let's go ahead and actually feed it in this exact file and ask it. Let's refine this and make it more accurate and market validated based on our experiences. And you know what? I'll take it even a step further. Let's take that, go into a trained GPT project, which has all of my building, all of my experience, slap on a thinking model, ask it for the same thing. So now it has the context essentially. I should note with in the same way while this is running, let's do a little. While this is running, I'll show you guys something here. One of the advantages I will say with the sort of reinforcement layer is with the human in the loop, we kind of get to direct it. Now, prompt chains, the way they kind of work, in the same way with Markov chains, if you're familiar with any sort of mathematics on that, you're essentially looking at probability. So without walking through all these kind of crazy charts and, madness, essentially every step of the way, there's probability forks in terms of what direction things go. And that comes down to design, architecture, right? Like how well can we sort of have the vision and funnel it in that way? So for me, make it more accurate is still very loose. Like, sure, we'll see what that entails. Yeah. So from here, really outlining the copy, showcasing really the value exchange for what we're doing. As a citizen developer, as somebody who pretty much just builds with no code and AI on the daily, it's pretty much what I look at. So on a lean canvas, I'll take you guys through it. So the cost centers, key partners, right? So who do we have to pay essentially, or not have to, but if we decide to, in terms of the work we're doing. Sometimes I have fulfillment partners, usually I don't. This is old. I'm still a part, like I'm well connected with each of these guys and I kind of blocked out a few other names. But in a nutshell, like it's always good to have it. Key activities, what am I doing, right? So really just building sales infrastructure. Let's see how this kind of outlined it. Key activities here. Yeah, rapid discovery, building, wiring. This is so much better than whatever else I threw here. So let's go ahead and copy that. Better, what makes this better? So I'll show you guys. Simplicity is one. Simplicity is always king. I feel like when I wrote this out, there's a lot of verbiage, a lot of trying to capture it and distill it. The power of less is more is really just shows the base root of what I do on a day-to-day basis. Because like toolkits, even the word infrastructure goes over a lot of heads. I like to really root myself in tangibles. So for here, there is voice agents as part of the offering, but the main driver is really the sales infrastructure, the proposal generating, the invoice collecting, the lead nurturing, the lead generation, all of those fun things that are contextual to a service-based business. That's really where I excel. So yeah, in terms of kind of pulling from this, what's really nice is it distills the copy piece. So GPT-5 is kind of advertised as a better copywriter than the previous one. It's less syncophatic, if I can pronounce that correctly. What that means, I have to look it up here, is essentially instead of flattering you all the time, being all uber enthusiastic and almost, disauthentic, I would say. This pretty much bridges that. As you can see, it's much more clear cut, simple, and ironed out. So part of the reason I'm redoing this blank canvas here is, like I mentioned, last time I did it, was a few months ago, and the speed of things change, and now I'm in a place where I feel I'm getting closer and closer to really who I'm servicing and speaking to them in a very tangible way. So, yeah. So from here, I like this because the promise of time is one of those things that, like, in my marketing in the past, I've found that rooting myself in revenue and impact through tangible perception is really the best way to do it. Whenever you're delivering microservices, often the packaging happens in the back end. Like, if your systems are working well, that means we did a good job. That's kind of the idea. So from here too, let's see. It's talking about offers and packages, what people actually buy. I imagine that's part of this piece here because, yeah, because the rest is all market based. So let's go ahead, duplicate this. And then, yeah. So, like I mentioned, I'm also reconnecting with a good friend of mine that, you know, is an absolute genius when it comes to accelerators and taking businesses from one spot to the next, right? That's really ultimately the dream, right? Transformation is what drives people. And the more you can show them that before and after, the better GPT-5 can assist you in that process, or even a ChatGPT agent, a browser agent, right? Like, the more you can tap into these things that actually help you, the better, right? You can actually see a real time, um, transformation. So that all being said, let's keep this piece here. So I should also know, if you're new here, this is a blank canvas project. A large part of building in public is me being a full-blown, I mean, I've been a full-blown AI service provider. I just haven't documented it as much as I am now. So in doing that, bracing authenticity, making sure I sound, not just sound, but I'm communicating something tangibly relevant, is always key. So, yeah. So taking this in here. Yeah. So verbiage wise, this might look even more extensive, but all things considered, that's channels there. Kind of blocks it out, but you get the idea. Even if I extend this a little wide. Yeah. Anyways, so customer relationships, really looking at, like, how do I actually connect to people realistically? Let's remove the line here. Yeah, sure. There is weekly pieces into it. This is already kind of mentioned. Cold email is something I am going to be showcasing a lot more of. I used to have a running campaign specifically for property management, and I found a lot of that kind of led to busy meetings more than tangible, like, impact driven meetings. Reason being is the offer I had at the time was not clear cut, right? So whenever I would connect to people, communicating that and cutting through the noise was something I was constantly kind of, tunneling through. So, okay, the power of multitasking is not a strong one for me, which is ironic. So, clean it up a little bit. I'm going to dive through it. I wanted to note for the revenue streams, there's setup, monthly retainers, add-ons, and then there's upsells and training. I think what's more accurate here is sort of the affiliate approach. So, broadcasting, um, and showcasing, how to actually use tools. I should note as well that piece of the performance side of things and showcasing with transparency is also just doing a really good job. I see, service providers in any space has rough apples. So being able to be transparent and showcase this makes an argument in the practice for why you're working with us, which I think is always valuable. It's like your buyer's remorse fades once you see that your money is going like, it's not just multiplying, it's exponentially returning to you because now you have more time to do more meaningful things. You truly are returning time where it matters most, which is why this is a large proponent of what I do. So just to kind of go over it once again with the lean canvas, throw up the big screen here. It's always important. This is a nice little, like I mentioned, a tool for startups to kind of have an idea of all the moving parts. It's great to use thinking assistants like this to help you figure out and kind of go through it. You can even say, hey, like fresh chat. It doesn't have to be a project. Say, hey, help me create a lean canvas model for an insert business model here for an AI and automation. Call it an agency, even though I'm pretty much fulfilling on my own. Yeah. So while that's running, I can show you guys what's happening here. A large part of the practice is doing a good job from the very beginning, right? Before money is even exchanged. Enough value is given up front, enough of the discovery, enough of the modeling, enough of the return is all laid out. And it's very visible and very clean, which I'm really excited to do. So some points I wanted to kind of mention. If you're new to the space, Blank Canvas project, I'm in the process of developing a sort of enterprise questionnaire to qualify and understand the automation needs for people a bit better, specifically in the demographics I'm working with. So if you are a real estate agent or brokerage, if you work in consulting or coaching, if you work as a personal brand builder, creator, if you are a creative marketing agency, if you are within private equity or finance, or if you're also within like construction management, for example, there are ways that operationally, logistically, which may seem like the same, but it's not, on the sales front, on the marketing front, even on the finance front too. Like there's a lot of modeling and a lot of impact that AI can have for you. So what's the shortest line path so that you can see the most return and the most revenue return to you? That's what I'm here to do. So outlining that for you requires me to do an extensive opportunity matrix, talking to the stakeholders, having a well-designed discovery, which is really the root of it right now. And then once we're happy with either building a proposal, generator that instead of taking 4 hours to come up with a quote, you fill in a little intake and AI takes care of the rest. It prepares a full document. If you have to do some research on a company for your outbound enrichment, having that kind of happening on autopilot, visualizing things into dashboards, like this good old bento box kind of style. This is really what we're looking to do. And being able to make that tangibly impactful for you. So from here, it says on the low end is 2,500, but I do have offers much lower than that, being more focused on the information side of things. So in the process of designing a knit community, a well-designed sort of educative product, if that makes sense. But a lot needs to go into that. A lot of enterprise design, a lot of, when I say enterprise design, I'm specifically talking about this sort of balance between identity, architecture, and experience. And if that's the kind of stuff you're interested in and diving into, highly recommend checking out the playlist within the description, within the channel. And, being able to balance all of that and make an argument, not even just an argument, a statement, truly outlining the return on investment and, making it worthwhile for you. So really excited for this, showcasing this more in real time. Let's see what it cooked up here. So a large part of the problem that we're solving is this fragmented data, a lot of manual data entry, inconsistent lead qualification and routing. Our aim is to service those small businesses or mid-sized that are operation heavy and drowning in that data entry, and really replace those spreadsheets and email chaos with plug and play AI infrastructure agents, like true, like working for you on behalf of you on autopilot. And if there's any human in the loop, that's not a headache that you need to take care of. You can if you'd like to, but that's what we're here to do as a service provider, is to return time where it matters most per person every week, time and time again, and to do it fast, right? Not 4 months as a developer shop or a dev shop, whatever you want to call it, but full-on pilots that will truly show you a percentage in real time. So really excited to kind of showcase this and build this in more real time. So this has been the ongoing project. It's how you kind of lean into these new intelligent systems. One final note I would like to make, especially if you're new here, enterprise design is one of those things that a lot of service providers, let alone AI service providers, a lot of businesses, period, struggle because they don't take into account how their identity shows up in their content, in their purpose and way of being, in the story they experience day by day. They don't see how that kind of impacts their brand and how well their client and customer experience is, their employee experience as well, when they're focused on a task and they're going through the journey of actually experiencing it and, having a before and after. Having that built on top of product and on top of architecture and the actual assets that contribute, right? So having a process that stacks on top of software is an asset, right? And having the capabilities to then harness a GPT-5 and organize the business in a way that will give you the most return on the shortest period of time is ultimately the goal. So that being said, see you guys in the next one.